Stay tuned for a outside the TV screen 3D demo of Tears of the Kingdom. I might make it as a separate short, to be honest with you. So let's see. Since the early days of Menipus and satire, when Canterbury Tales gave us our first look at horror movie victims, the pathetic of people, and Geoffrey Chaucer. From Vlad the Impaler to Bram Stoker, who gave us Dracula, both in a book and in a theater reading. But the stage wasn't enough if Edison had his way. There was Nosferatu, followed by Dracula, Bela Lugosi, and all the parodies. My parents remember this one. And who could forget Mel Brooks? Well, what we're looking at now, or what you're listening to, is Shadow of the Vampire. So he's the producer, one of the producers of Shadow of the Vampire. And what I liked about this movie, I didn't get to see this movie either, not because of AMC or anything like that, but because it wasn't shown in enough places. So it was very difficult to find a place to go and see this. So Shadow of the Vampire was, it was something that I really wanted to see when I was younger. I think it came out in 2001, 2000. And what I found really cool is that Willem Dafoe, who you obviously know as the Green Goblin and Volko and Aquaman, but he does different dramatic movies. And this was before Spider-Man, the very first Spider-Man. So Nicolas Cage believed in the director Elias Merhige, Merhige, and might get copyright claim for this stuff, but it's this is the extra stuff that we're listening to. But when you get into this movie, it's creepy, it's haunting, and I don't know how many notes Nick took to study, because obviously Renfield is more outrageous comedy. I mean, he's the first CGI vampire, right? Turning into all these different bats and stuff like that. So it's not like the old days where you had hand-drawn bats with Bela Lugosi, or just weird puppetry with what's that guy? George Hamilton, and Love at First Bite. There's been so many parodies, so many things. And I thought of Canterbury Tales for like the horror movie victims, like people who are remarkable but not remarkable on the inside. So when I watched, this is obviously a take on Nosferatu. So Nick produced this, and Willem Dafoe took out a great performance. Now this is what is it? Rated R? Yeah. There's some nudity. Catherine McCormick gives us some nudity, and it's a combination of reenactments and some of the real footage from the real movie Nosferatu, the silent film, which I first watched it in TV and film class, and I loved it. I think it's one of my favorite vampire movies because, and I think Willem Dafoe agreed because he said this in a commentary, that it's great to have a vampire that's not a sexy, romantic-looking vampire. He's an ugly, creepy old dude with these like corn chip fingernails. That just this creepy old man. You can kind of see those nails, and he starts biting and devouring. So the idea is that it's a reenactment of the original director of Nosferatu in the silent film era, just after World War I, or the Great War, as they called it back then. And so with the idea was that Max Schreck, based on the real Max Schreck, not to be confused with Batman Returns, but Max Schreck, who played the vampire, was a real vampire, and the director made a deal with the devil, with the vampires, that I'll let you devour a couple of women. I'll let you have the women. I'll let you have blood, but I need you in my movie. It'd be so cool to have a real vampire in my damn movie. It's like you hear stories of people getting killed when it's like they're supposed to get killed in the story, but they get killed in real life. You hear all kinds of horror stories like that. But this is sort of the idea, is that Willem Dafoe is this creepy, ugly vampire, and he starts devouring people one by one. There's a scene where the new photographer, after he preys upon the old photographer. I think he's in this scene here. No, actually, this is the producer, along with John Malkovich as the director. And there you got Catherine McCormick, or one of the makeup people, trying to give him makeup. This oh yeah, Eddie Izzard is the victim. He is Renfield in this movie. You have Eddie Izzard, and I also thought it was interesting too that the way directors do silent film is that in a typical movie, the actors are talking. You hear the sound effects or sound stage effects, and you hear the actors talking. In a silent film, the director's talking. The actor does not talk, may say very little, and it doesn't matter because it's all going to be music over it. Yeah, this is so he's talking about Count Olaf, and this was all about. And the director had said that the original director who did Nosferatu was sued anyway by. I'm not sure if Bram Stoker was still alive, but it was definitely from Stoker's estate that they didn't get permission to do Dracula. That's why they did Nosferatu in the old days in 1922. So they had to call it Nosferatu instead of Dracula. So they still got sued, and that was a hard time. That was a time when you had Bram Stoker and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was protecting the rights to Sherlock Holmes. Those were different times, very different. So, I mean, obviously, there's a difference between this movie and Renfield with Nicholas Holt from X Men, and these two did work together on Weatherman, but Nicholas Holt had a very small part, and now they'll be more front and center. So that's all I really wanted to talk about was the the fun time that they had with this, and there were no egos. There were no egos back and forth. There was no uh, I'm better than this, or I'm difficult actors. And it's funny because Willem Dafoe, who plays Max Schreck, plays a difficult actor who won't sail on a ship. And in real life, the director had the Elias, who's doing a production company now with I forgot, it's Johns. So Johns, let's see, Richard Johns is the two of them who worked on this movie are now forming a production company as of this year. So that's 22 years later. Um, yeah, this was a fun movie, uh, and of course the vampire dies, but it's such done in such a way that you're not seeing CGI. You're not seeing a lot of weird shit. Like almost everything you're seeing is there on the set, and it's done in such a great way. It's a mesh of old footage from from the silent movie and then new footage with the actors. So I think that he's done talking, but there's a whole transformation video in which he becomes the vampire, and yeah, there's all this stuff. There's the makeup. I'll show you the makeup application. This is the kind of shit that Nicolas Cage had to go through. I mean, there was probably maybe a little bit less because he just had to put on a little less makeup. Here, Willem Dafoe, who played the Green Goblin and others, he had to put on a whole contraption. This was the first movie I ever remembered him in, and I really wanted to see this. And I think had I seen this movie when it was released in theaters, I would have had a slightly different outlook. I mean, that's just, you know, I thought, looking back at the Spider-Man movie, wearing that mask, yeah, I mean, Green Goblin wears a mask, but it would have robbed Willem Dafoe's performance because those facial expressions, you could imagine him turning into the Green Goblin by chemical instead of like wearing a suit. Well, he had the chemical change, right? Where he took the green juice and then he started jumping around and shit. But he wore a mask. If he had turned into the monster, where he looked like this and like threatened Spider-Man, that would have worked. That would have really worked. All right. Are you ready now for the outside the TV demo of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom? Oh, before I do that, um, I'm gonna try one more attempt with Cinepolis. The reason I didn't go to Cinepolis or Regency Theater is too ghetto. I don't like Regency Theater. I remember watching E.T. the 20th anniversary, and they had a shitty presentation. I never got my money back for that. With Cinepolis, they were showing it like way later than 5:15. So I didn't want to be out there in Pico Rivera too late, and the buses weren't going to get there. I didn't want to be out there in the middle of the night. I mean, it gets pitch black when I have to go over that bike trail. That's all I was worried about. And there's other theaters, but they're farther away. And there was a showing of Renfield on Tuesday, but um, I don't know if they were going to be difficult with me with my scooter. Hey, I could have sat in row A. I could have sat in the front row with the face the closest to the screen. I wouldn't be in anybody's way. I don't understand what this wetback nigger Jap chink Dago hate has to be about. You know, it doesn't need to happen. So I'm gonna try that, and if I don't, then if they give me shit all of a sudden. By the way, I've been going to Cinepolis for Dungeons and Dragons and Super Mario Brothers movie. So also too, I mean, when I went back to see the Protege, the Maggie Q, I went to AMC and I went to AMC to see Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange. So I don't know what this shit is about. It's the same deal with the backpacks, and you can't treat people like dirt. You can't do that. I'm not some retard. How about you treat your customers with respect, especially when they're buying your shit for years? You don't suddenly say, well, now we don't want your money. Really? We'll see if you keep your business, motherfuckers. Okay, time for the Zelda demo. King Ganondorf sits at the throne. He's got Link in his sights. Here comes that snake, okay? That snake's coming for him. He ain't playing. Dun, 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 dun. And this is the time where Link has to use his heroics. Now, just like in the demo, he can jump from place to place. Let's see what happens here. Ready? Okay, I got him over here. He's ready to go. That's it. I won the game. Look at that. I beat the game. Da, 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 da. Where's my Triforce at?